Hi, my name is Jack Roof. I'm a volunteer with the Colorado Gerontological Society. And today I'm going to talk to you about the housing and home care locator that we have online and teach you how to go through some of the basics of just how it can be used. Before I do that, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background. The Colorado Senior Resource Guidebook, some of you may be familiar with it. That's been a directory. I think I put that up here. Some of you may be familiar with this. It can be found in local libraries and a lot of other different venues. And that's been around for several years. And what's happened here is that about 3 years ago, the society decided to move from the hard copy guidebook to an online locator. So we have this database, and this database is can be the advantage of it over the printed copy is it can get to a wider audience, and also we can make real-time changes when we find out about them, so that again, the directory would only be done on a once-a-year basis. This would allow for changes just as they come. Okay, so I'm going to just start from Google. You can do it from whatever website you want to go to, or whatever browser you want to use. But I'll type in the Colorado Gerontological Society. And I'm going to go to the website for the society. And up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can see this housing and home care locator. We're going to click on that. We'll start our search. And then I'm going to run through some various categories that I want to introduce to you. Before we do that, just one thing I want to mention in terms of helping everyone out. We're going to defer questions till the end. I think this should take just about a half an hour or so to do, but we'll certainly be available for questions after that. So the first thing that I want to show you is that over in the left-hand side here, you have the senior care service, and there are 7 types of services: 4 in housing, 3 in help in the home, and we're going to review just 4 of these in the interest of time. So those will be assisted living, independent living, affordable housing, and then help in the home, home care. So let's go to this first one, assisted living residencies. Now there's different ways to search. One of the things that you're going to see about the locator is that it has a lot of flexibility in how it operates. So you can search in different ways. The first thing that we're going to do, we'll search by city. And I'm going to use Denver just as a start, but remember, this is a statewide directory, so you could put any other communities in there too. But we'll use Denver just to get going. The first thing that you'll see is a map, and that map will give you an idea of the number of the listings that are around Denver. Now, over in the left-hand corner, under housing assisted living residencies, you'll note that it says there's 36 listings in Denver, and certainly that's not matched by the number of pins. But as you load more facilities into this locator, those pins will fill out. So again, it'll give you a more realistic map. But we'll also have, once we look into the details of each individual facility or the individual facility that we choose, that will give you a map also, and that'll pinpoint just where the facility is. Okay, so I'm going to search by, we've done by city. Now we're going to actually, we'll try another search, just change this slightly. I'm going to go over to show options, and I'm going to see if we can narrow this down from 36 to maybe a smaller, more manageable number. So I'm going to use 80203. That is the zip code that the Gerontological Society is in, and we'll see what that yields. Not a whole lot of difference. We've got 33 listings. So let's see if we can use this bottom row that has payment type, cost, facilities, features, etc. I'm going to use some of those to filter this a little bit and bring our numbers down. So for payment type, in this case, I'm going to choose only those assisted living residencies that have Medicaid. And I have a particular interest in being in a medium-sized facility. As I said, you could do this all sorts of different ways. I just happen to choose these two for the purposes of illustration here. So there's 7 listings within a radius of 5 miles from 80203. That's, again, if you can look up here in this, the default radius that's used for all of these things is 5 miles. And there's 7 listings from within the center. If you're taking things from the center of zip code 80203, you'll find that there's 8 listings. Now, one other option that's available to you, and I want to make sure that I show you that, is you could, well, let's see, let me clear my search here. I'm going to go back. Assisted living, we're going to choose. We're going to show options. And let's say you've had a recommendation from a friend of a particular facility. So you're not wanting to look at all the things that are around Denver, around a zip code, but you know a particular place that you'd like to get some information about. So I'm going to put one in here under facility name. That would be Dayspring Villa, or I'm sorry, that's, yes, it's Dayspring Villa. So let me get that entered in here. We're going to search on that. And that brings up the one listing. So you don't have to go through and get all these other things. You can just find the one. So let's observe some details here. First of all, we give you some basic information about the location of the facility, a phone number to get in contact with them. And I would certainly urge you to stay in touch with the facility. The locator is a very good starting point to look for facilities, but you want to get information about vacancies and things of that sort, the really up-to-date information that'd be necessary. Then you'd want to be in touch with an administrator there. So you got a phone number. There is a website that we link to if you wanted to see that. And this was updated fairly recently, so we know we've got some pretty fresh information. So let's look at the details for that. Now, the first thing, as I said, you have a map here that will show you just where the location is. And I guess this is up in Northwest Denver. Again, a phone number, website below that. And a little bit further down, there's some that says search the health department surveys. That's where my cursor is at the moment. I'm going to click on that. And this is a good way for you to find and compare some facilities. So if you want to see how Dayspring Villa kind of stood up against some of its counterparts, you could go to this particular website, which I'm going to go through some of the basics here or that. I don't want to get too much detail because this is another website. And I think if you wanted information about it, you could contact the state health department. But using this, if you went down to the facility name and address and you put in Dayspring Villa, let's see. That's going to bring up something below there, and you need to check that box next to Dayspring Villa. And that will begin, that will click on it, and it should, let's see, where did that go? Oh, here it goes. Okay, so down near the bottom of the screen, you see Dayspring Villa, and then you can just click on that to get a little bit more information. And again, this is where you can do some of your comparison work. This is the count of inspections that have been done at facilities in citations, and then you can get in to looking at some of what those citations are, so you can see, you know, just what kind of problems the facility has gone into in the past. In this case, it's got 4 years worth of records dating from 2019 to 2022, but you'd have information about those citations and their resolution. So again, this is a very helpful resource. Now I'm going to go back to the facility in Locator. You see a cost range below that, 2905 to 3206, and I'll go over that in a moment. And then below that, you have all the payment options that the facility will accept. And these eyes, these information bubbles, that will tell you just what that particular category is about. In this first case, you have private self-pay. I think that's fairly self-explanatory. Then you have other explanations for Medicaid, et cetera. Similarly, under features, you have these bubbles again. And again, they will explain what those particular categories are about. Below that, you'll have room types, and this is where you'll get into some of this information about cost. In this case, the 2905 pertains to the minimum cost for a studio. So they have both studio and one-bedroom apartments at Dayspring Villa. The studios range, as you can see, from the 2905 to 2946. And then the one-bedrooms are just, apparently there isn't a range. They just have one type of one-bedroom, no particular differences in features from one to the next, and that's at 3206. Okay, so let's move to another category of service. I'm going to go back now to my main page of the directory. We'll go to housing. In this case, we want to do independent living. And I've chosen, since this is a statewide database, I want you to see that there's a lot of smaller communities that are in here that are also included. It's not just Denver or Colorado Springs, it certainly includes many others. So what we're going to do is look for, we're going to try La Junta. No, that's not right. Let's do this again. Independent living. Okay, so we have this one facility, Evergreen Gardens at La Junta, and we'll get into that in a moment. But before we do that, I want to mention one thing to you. Since you want to, let's say you want to have, as well may be the case, you want more options. You won't just want to take a look at one facility, but you'd like to take a look at least a few. So let's see what happens if we, as I mentioned to you earlier, the default radius that will be used by the locator is 5 miles. But we do have some options in here. I can change this to 10, 25, 50, or 100. Let's see what happens at 10. Oh, same thing, only one listing in La Junta. And I won't go through all the others, just I want to mention to you that at 25 and 50, I'm already aware that there's still one listing in La Junta. If we go to a radius of 100 miles, however, you'll see then we get a little bit more help in here. Now that's, this is going to be taking in places like Colorado Springs and Pueblo, but, and I think those are, well, in the case of Pueblo, I think it's about 60, 65 miles. But you have to use that other radius. And in some communities, it won't have to go up that high. But in this case, you needed a radius that big in order to increase your options. So I'm going to choose this Evergreen Gardens at La Junta, since that's the one that's actually in the city or in the town. And again, similar sorts of things as you saw in the other case. You have your maps, address, phone number, website, cost, payment options. One thing that you'll note within independent living, you will only see private self-pay. You won't see options like Medicare or Medicaid. Those wouldn't be available to you as means of payment to use for this facility. So it's only self-pay. Now, when we get down to room types, we'll see that they have just the 2 bedrooms are available. That's the only type. Apparently, they've got some different features from some to the, and that you'd have to talk to the facility about, but some rooms are at this initial price of $26.45, and then they can go all the way up to the $27.50. Okay. The next category I want to take a look at, let's go back again to our main page. Go under our senior care services. This time we're going to look at affordable housing. And I'm going to choose Aurora. Wow, that's a lot. So, hold on just a minute. That doesn't seem right. I'm going to clear this just to make sure that we've got the right stuff. By the way, if you're concerned at all about the results that come up for you, which is possible that in some, hopefully as few cases as possible, it might be wrong, but just clear your search and start again. So I'm going to go back to independent living. We'll use Aurora. I'm going to make sure that we're talking about, just to be certain that we're talking about a 5-mile radius. Okay, so there's 10 listings in Aurora. I'm going to choose, hold on here, get down a little ways. I'll type it in. Now, because I actually know the name in this case. This is Aspen Meadows. We'll search on that. No, that's wrong. Let's try again. Affordable housing. And we're going to do options. Aspen Meadows. Okay, so there's Aspen Meadows. And again, the format is like you've seen for the other entries. You'll see a map when we click on the details. And then the typical information on the left-hand side. Now, the thing that I think that I want to point out here is affordable housing consists of 2 categories. One is subsidized housing. And I'm going to look at that information bubble to just let you know what that is. It says a renter pays 30% of their annual income minus the allowable expenses. Actually, that's not quite right. You pay 30% of your adjusted annual income, and that would be adjusted by certain allowable expenses. But once you get that adjustment income, you take 30% of that. That's what a subsidized facility is like. This one, though, has another kind of arrangement, something called tax credit as a payment option. And I want to show you, well, this page here will show us both the affordable housing options, both the subsidized and the low income housing credit. The low income housing tax credit is a little bit more complicated. I've given an example here, and I'll just run through it quickly to let you know what this is like. But you don't have to make these calculations. There's a table below here that we'll look at to help you a little bit with a search for if you run into a low-income housing tax credit property. Let's say that you were in a county that had an area median income of $80,000, but the facility was offering an apartment at 60% of the area median income. Then the maximum amount of rent that can be charged is $1,200 a month. And the way you get to that is by taking 60% of that 80,000. Then you take 30% of that number, which would be 30%, again, being the amount that typically goes towards housing. And you divide it by the months in a year to get what your monthly rent would be. So that's just how it's computed. But what I'd like to show you here, and I'm going to try to blow this up a little bit, see if we can get this a little. There's a table. Now I'm going to have to go a little smaller. And what this table has is it tells you the maximum rents by county that can be charged from anywhere from 0 bedrooms up to 4. And on the right-hand side, and I'm sorry I have to make this so small, but that has what are income limits. So that tells you what your income can be at a maximum in order to qualify for one of these apartments. If you have any questions about this, you can always call the Colorado Housing Finance Authority, speak to a housing counselor, and they can get you more, go into more of the detail about the use of the table. But that's basically how it's used. So just as an example, if we were in Adams County, I'm going to try to blow this up again so we don't make this a little bit better. If in Adams County you were looking at a facility that was being offered at 60% of the AMI or area median income, you'd see that for a studio, or in other words, a 0 bedroom, the maximum rent that could be charged is $1,231. Going further along the line, if you're just one person, you're looking at your annual income, then you can have no more than $49,260 in income in order to qualify for that studio apartment. Now, of course, you want to divide that by 12 to get what to match your monthly income against that monthly rental charge to see where that is. Okay, so that is affordable housing. Now we're going to go back. Again, we'll go back to our main page. This time we're going to choose something out of Help in the Home, and we're going to use Homecare. And I've decided to use, I'm going to use Loveland. Let's do a search. That's not right. There is one place in Loveland. I'm going to clear my search. Okay, well, you can see there's several listings of home care outfits in the Loveland area. I'm going to pick I'm going to focus on one. Let's see if I can just scroll down and find it. Okay, it's not here, so I'm going to load some more. And that's going to bring up a few more agencies. And we're going to use Beata Home Healthcare, Inc. So again, format's the same as you've seen. Details will be a little bit different. Now, in this case, I think the important thing to take note of is that as far as finding information about the facility and comparing it to others, you not only have benefit of the state health department surveys, but you can also use this Medicare star rating. Let's see what that comes up with here. Okay, so we see that Beata has two ratings. One is a quality one, and then a patient survey rating. And you can get information about what those are about just by, putting your cursor over the quality rating or the patient survey rating. That'll tell you what it's about. And again, as I said, you have something to compare there. So that's the basics of how to use the locator. Does anybody, I'm happy to take any questions at this time. Anyone out there have any questions that you'd like to need to respond to? No, not seeing anybody. Okay, well, if that's the case, then I'm glad that, or I hope this was able to give you a little bit of an idea of what the locator is about and just how to use it. And I thank you very much for your time. Oh, am I still talking then?
You're still on.
Okay.
Yeah.
We did have a couple of questions in the chat that I did want to address. Or actually just one, but someone has asked how often this list is updated, and the list is updated on an ongoing basis. It's different than the directory, as I pointed out, that's a once a year thing. But the list is, there are a group of volunteers over here at the Society who try to keep this information as updated as possible. Some of you may have noticed in looking at the main page of the locator that we do put a disclaimer on there indicating that while the information, we do try to keep up with this as best as possible, the information can change quite quickly. So we do advise that you stay in touch with the facility or the agency. That's always your best bet in getting current information, but we do make an attempt to get this as updated as possible. We're not on a particular schedule. Okay. Any other questions?